This is my capstone presentation. The focus of my capstone presentation is using digital tools to support English language learners. So a little bit about myself. I immigrated to the US when I was 5 and lived in Houston most of my life. I went to UT at Austin for college and graduated with a Human Development and Family Science degree. I'm currently a 4th grade math and science teacher at 4th Bend ISD. This is where my inspiration came along. As being an immigrant, I did struggle in school. I wasn't great at writing as words seemed strange. I wasn't great at reading as I struggled with remembering the word. Overall, school was a difficult time for me. Because of these experiences, I know how difficult it is for ELLs to feel motivated and achieve in school. So this is the reason why I want to focus on ELLs and find ways to support these students in the classroom. In relating it to technology, I want to use it as a solution to help these ELLs achieve. This means understanding what kind of technology and what teachers can learn. After deciding my focus, I started researching for my literature review. For the review, I would ask myself these questions. What is the academic progress of ELLs at schools? How can technology support these ELLs learners? What are best practices for these students at school? What can teachers do to support these students? After researching, these are the results from my literature review. When looking at the statistics of ELLs, they are one of the fastest growing population of students in the US with 4.8 million. With that population, about 46% of those students score below basic in math. Therefore, they have a risk factor of dropping out of high school by the age of 18. When you look at factors affecting ELLs achievement, the first one is low socioeconomic status, the second one a language barrier, the third lack of motivation, and the last one, lack of cultural relevance. When ELLs are given digital tools to support them, research have found an improvement in higher test scores, increased motivation, better classroom engagement, and even use of technology at home. So from my research, I want to focus my instructional design around educating teachers on how to use digital tools to support ELLs. This is my design process for it. To begin my design process, I first thought about the digital tool I want teachers to learn. Then I want to create an instructional goal around that tool. From there, I would then set plans for my design process. I used the Dick and Carey system approach model to plan my instruction around my goal. In thinking about my instructional goal, I want to use Powtoon as a targeted tool. Powtoon is an engaging video making program that can engage all types of learners. The audiences are teachers at Barbara Jordan Elementary. The goal for the instruction is educators from Barbara Jordan Elementary will be able to create a 3-minute video using editing tools to manipulate and animate slides, to introduce themselves and their classroom rules. Now I want to go over the learner and content analysis of my instructional design. When looking at the learner analysis, these are the results. First, the target audience in the instructions were teachers in their 20s to their mid-50s. Some teachers were more proficient in technology, while others need more support in the instruction. The support can be extra help videos or job aids that they can use. In terms of motivation, all of the teachers want to learn new technology as a way to help better their instruction. In the results of the content analysis, the environment that the instruction will take place in is the conference room. The room provides adequate space for group and individual work as well as the tools needed for the instruction. In terms of adaptability, what teachers learn in a room is similar to the setup in their own classroom with the same tools. For relevance, since instruction focuses on digital tools, teachers can use that skill and adapt it to any part of their lessons. Now we will look at the instructional strategy and the material used in the design process. After focusing on my goal, my next step was to identify all the skills that the participants have to accomplish. This means planning the skills in a diagram and arrange them to flow from one to the next. The skills shown in the picture are steps to creating a video on Powtoon. After the skills were identified and organized in a flowchart, I then began my instructional strategy. In the strategy, I organized the skills in cluster objectives and the time needed for each one to be accomplished. All of this is written in a planning document. In the document, I also listed the activities that the participant would do before the instruction and after the instruction. The pre-activities measure the proficiency of using technology. The post-activity would measure how well they do after creating the video. This translates to the assessments that I have created to analyze the participants' final product. After finishing the plans for my instructional strategy, I began working on my instructional materials. The first one that I've created was a participant guide that the learners can use as I am teaching them. The guide offers step-by-step instruction with pictures for each objective given. The guide also has a checklist that they can complete when going through their objectives. The second material that I've made was the PowerPoint slides, in which I would use to present. The slide mirrors the participant guide, making it easier for the learners to follow along. Now let's move to the evaluation and assessment part of the design process. In my evaluation, I asked an expert instructional designer to evaluate my plans before I implement them. Her name is Shalini and she has some great suggestions on some parts of my plan. In her comments, she said that the instructional materials were supportive for different learners. She believes that the goal is reachable and helpful for students wanting to engage their students. Lastly, she suggested that I add step markers to the participant guide as a way to help them track their progress. After all the plans and evaluation were completed, I carried out my instruction. However, due to social distancing, I performed my training online through Zoom with 3 participants using the instructional materials. After the instruction, I performed the learner's assessment to see if the participants achieved their goal. In the assessment, there was an observation checklist for each objective achieved. The learners were assessed on if they have successfully performed each skill in the training. In the end, results show that all participants successfully created a video and achieved their goal. That completes my design process, and now I want to show you other multimedia products that I have used. These multimedia products are some that I have created and some that I have found as resources. The first one are job aids and sample videos that I have created as a way to engage students through visual technology. The second one is an online class that I have created through Canvas on how to engage ELLS through digital tool. This course is for students wanting to learn on their own without the direct instruction. Lastly are research articles that the learners can read on ELLS and how to support them in the classroom using technology. Looking closer at the job aids and video, I created a job aid on how to use Ribbit as a photo editing tool. Teachers can use this tool as a way to engage ELLs through charts, diagrams, and visual aids. For videos, I gave teachers sample instructional videos that I have created with videos on how to make them. This is helpful for teachers wanting to know more about creating a video instruction. Looking at the online class is for teachers who are not able to make it to the training. It's also for teachers who need a review from the instruction. Students can join the course at any time and complete it at their own pace. The research articles provided are for teachers that want to learn more about ELLs and how to engage them using digital tools. Now I want to talk about the recommendation and implication for my project. Since the project focuses on using digital tools to support ELLs, I recommend more research in the LDT field on the effectiveness of certain programs online to support those students. Teachers in the project were able to learn how to use Powtoon, but I want to know what other programs that can support ELLs in the long run. As technology isn't readily available for all ELLs, it's recommended that teachers learn non-technology-based practices to reach those students at home. In conclusion to my presentation, I want to talk about my personal learning experience. My instructional design classes have provided me with the tool and knowledge to create these multimedia products. This ranges from the videos that I have created to the pictures that I have designed. As such, there are some multimedias that are not created by me but are free to use based on copyright laws. Lastly, this project would not have been completed with the suggestions and help of my colleagues and content expert. Thank you for viewing my capstone presentation.